do is just touch briefly, for those of you that don't know, NASWA is really the counterpart to NOD. So I represent the state workforce agencies in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, DC, and Guam. And so obviously one of the pieces that's similar to between the local and the states is getting states to work together as well. And I think that's been a challenge. One of the items when I got to DC was everybody's like, you guys just do UI, you don't have anything to do with workforce. And I said, well, that's in our name, so I guess we better demonstrate we actually do something in workforce. And so one of the things we came up, and you can see just kind of, if I get my slide up there for me. Perfect, thank you. So one of them is the tagline, really drive the national workforce agenda. There really is nobody in DC that's really driving the agenda. It's very fragmented. And so that's one of the things we've tried to do over the last 5 years since I got there, was actually start to drive that agenda. And it's important to do that because there needs to be a voice with consistency and that understands the challenges both the states and the locals have. And I know Ron knows this as well. So the second is really to provide high-value member services. One of the things we do, similar to NOB and their forum, we actually hold about 4 conferences a year. And one of the best things that happens is similar to what happened today here, is sharing those best practices. It's easier to steal from somebody else something that works than to try and go create something and not know if it will. We had just come back from really our workforce summit in Boston. Our theme was revolutionizing the workforce. And you might ask, why? Well, I'm going to touch on that in a second. So one of the pieces that we have a challenge coming up, for those of you that don't know, and nobody's mentioned it today, is WIOA actually gets reauthorized next year, which means Congress is going to get to hold hearings. I'm going to take some of these ideas about the horn and music to cut congressmen off, but I don't know if I'll go with it. But that's going to be important. And one of the things I heard today was telling the story. And one of the things that we did for the first time is we actually have compiled, and I didn't print it out because it's about 100 pages. We actually created a state of the workforce report that's information on every state. It doesn't exist anywhere else. And one of the things we asked is for the states to do is actually put innovative ideas in here. And you remember, you got to keep it all in your own perspective, because what may be innovative for your region maybe isn't innovative for another one. But it's a great way to do it, and I look forward to talking to Ron to see about how we can expand this out and maybe pull in locals as well, because that is the #1 question I get in DC. What are the innovative things states are doing in workforce development? So that's important. I'm going to go back up, legislative priorities. I think you all know we're on a continuing resolution. You guys don't be surprised if we aren't on one for the whole year, based on what I'm hearing in the chat. And that's something. The good news is it's not anything less than was received last year. The bad news is it isn't the bump up that the House is looking for. So if you plan that way, at least you got a framework, and if you get extra money, that's always a good thing. We'll continue to push our legislative priorities next year, and one is to continue to try and increase funding. Public workforce development, when you look at it on constant dollars, continues to take a decline year after year after year. So we're hoping to push that through. So now I'm going to do 8 slides in one. Hopefully you can see this. The environment where we're in now is not going to change. So what you have on the left side is the percentage of U.S. population, children, youth, between 0 and 25. You can see back in 2000, 35.3% was in that category. By 2040, it's dropping to 28.7%. The middle tier, which are all the working age adults that I still fit into, 25 to 65, was 52% in 2000. By 2040, it's dropping to 49. And if you go farther out, it drops even farther. And when you go into the senior adult side, or mature workers, as I used to learn up in Region 4, their mature worker program, it was at 12% in 2000. That's now driving up to 22%. So the belief, or if anybody says you're going to have more young workers coming in, that's not going to happen. So in essence, we need to think about how are we going to work with the individuals right now in the workforce side. That's really not going to change at all. So you need to understand it. So what are some of the challenging things? Obviously the decrease of labor pool. We did a whole series in Boston on the future of work, robotics and gig. You'll see more and more of these temp workers in gig or tackle or task. That's going to continue to grow in popularity. I know Walmart continues to push that out. So part of it is, how do we work with that? I don't know if that's the right answer, but it is something that's not going to go away. Obviously, we heard a lot today about expand, earn, and learn. Apprenticeships, OTJ, incumbent workers. How do you take those current individuals and really upskill them? And it really flows into the next one, which is individuals with significant barriers. And obviously, Indiana's got a great program in hire. There's mature workers. We've got underskilled, undereducated. And I know when I was at the agency, we used to talk about porch sitters. And we still have too many of them across the U.S. and still in Indiana. How do you get them off the porch and engaged in the workforce? And I think that's key for businesses. Because one of the things you're going to see is businesses, similar to what they used to do up in Region 2, the RV manufacturers, they rob from Peter to pay Paul, right? Individuals just go from one company to another. We really have to expand that labor pool, and that needs to be a focus of the boards. The next item, valuing credentials. How many credentials do you think there are that you can earn in the United States? Anybody want to take a guess? 10,000? 5, 2, 20,000.
33.
33. Do anything higher? You're like an usher. Higher. So, Credential Engine just released. There are 738,428 credentials that you could go out and earn. And you might ask yourself, why are employers confused about credentials that are out there? So the key is, and I know from looking to see what Indiana's doing, is putting the value on them, and employers are understanding the value, so those credentials are transportable, and they can take them with them. And those individuals can talk about what that credential means and tie it back to the skills. And I think that's critical that you understand that when you start to put individuals into credentialing programs. One of the pieces when I was in Boston, our hotel, and I wasn't very limber back at the beginning of September, I went to the same restaurant for dinner every night. It was an Italian place, the Valles. The owner comes out to me after I'd been in there a couple nights and goes, "You must be in town, you're here every night." I said, "I am, I'm running a workforce summit." He said, "Well, hang on a minute." He comes out from the back, puts a book up, it's called Be Our Guest. And I go, "Okay, that's nice. You know, I have plenty of reading material." He goes, "This is about workforce development." I said, "You gotta explain this." He said, "We're a high quality restaurant. This is what we do. A customer comes in, they're greeted with a smile. We don't make them wait. We take them to a table. We serve them. They ask for something, we help them out. They're confused, we help them out. We treat them with dignity and respect." He goes, "Isn't that what workforce development should really be?" And I thought about that, and I've listened to some of Ron's comments, and that's exactly what we have to be doing. Is to be able to treat those individuals that come in with that dignity and respect. Don't make them wait. Greet them with a smile. You don't know what's troubling them or what's going on in their life, so that's important to do. And the last thing I'm going to talk about up here is there's actually going to be a national campaign rolling out that's going to put out by the Ad Council. Who here remembers Smokey the Bear? Yeah, most of us, unfortunately, we do. It's actually going to be a campaign coming out to talk about, educate the public on what are the career pathways and what are their choices. Not only for students, but their parents. And it's going to touch on that individuals should value what I used to call industrial arts back in the old days, which is really vocational training or on-the-job training, should have the same value as a college degree, whether it's associate or four-year degree. And that's important that people understand the value of that and let the individual decide what their passion is and what it is they want to do. And this has really come out of a group I sit on called the American Workforce Policy Advisory Board that Governor Holcomb sits on. I heard Ron mention Jeannie Remini from IBM sits on. And so we're really trying to figure out how do we really get the message out so people understand, make the right decision for themselves, not necessarily what their parents want them to do, which I know is a struggle, And I remember Linda Walshansky, when I first started, used to do a manufacturing boot camp, more for the parents than anything else, up in Region 1, to try and make them understand that manufacturing isn't all dirty, that there is options including. So I look forward to doing that. And I'm going to close, because in Congress, I always learn to end my time early and yield back to the good senator. So I'm going to leave you with a math problem. How many of you have a pen? If you don't have a pen, pull out your smartphone. Some of you may remember this. It's a multiplication problem. How many love math? Come on, be honest. A couple. All right. Are we ready? Some of you go, I may remember this. But I think it's important from the first message I heard today when I walked in here. MI times U times TR times TP equals C. Somebody got the answer? So, MI, mutual interest. Do we all have a mutual interest here in helping the citizens of this state, and nationally now for me, to really improve their lifestyle, their career? You guys all have that? We're all on the same page there, right? Wait, come on, I need a show of hands. If you're not, we're done. All right. So we all get a 1. So in a multiplication problem, if any of these answers are 0, what happens? It's 0. Okay. The second one, U, understanding. All of us in this room should understand what the goals and strategic direction is for Indiana on where the state and locals really should be headed for workforce development. Local flavor, right? State umbrella. But all working for that same understanding, for that same common goal. Because I will tell you, every elected official, you get their citizens re-employed or in their own job and they love their job, they're going to re-elect every one of them all the time. So I think we all have that same understanding, right? Can we get a vote? 1, understanding. All right. Now it's going to get a little tougher. Third one, TR, trust. That's a hard one. I've seen trust happen not even between state and locals, but in my role now, I've seen it between state agencies. And I saw it even in here when we tried to roll out WIOA, right? To be able to trust what people are doing, and they're not just after my money. So I think that's an important one that I don't know if all of you would say, yeah, we have common trust in the room. Yeah, see, not as many, so that's something to work on. And the last one is transparency. And I think it's important, and I've seen this in the States, and Mike asked this question to Ron at lunch. Give me a state that's really knocking it out of the park. I think that was his question. I was kind of hoping Ron Painter would go, Indiana. Is Ron still here? He leave.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Next time, Ron, Indiana, right?
Yeah.
So you guys know, it's not viewed that way in DC. That's one of the biggest things I get asked. You're from Indiana, right? You worked in Indiana. I love what they're doing on X, Y, Z. So it may be doom and gloom here sometimes. It's not like that way nationally. So remember that. Always take the positives out. So I think there needs to be more transparency because C is collaboration. You guys can't do it alone, whether you're at the state or at the local level. It's got to be that partnership. And I'll go back to being old school. And Ron and I talked about this a lot with WIOA. When WIOA put the O in, right, that innovation, that opportunity, we all have to work better together because the only way Ron and I in DC are going to help get more funding for public workforce development is for you guys to work better together and share your stories of success. That's the one piece that's missing. And you may have laughed at Bob Burge going, well, Scott Sanders sent out a tweet. That's the one thing in DC they follow. They don't read half the stuff we ever give them. They follow Twitter because the staff is so inundated with everything else. That's what they follow. So figure out a social media idea, push it out through the state, tell the stories of success. And that's key because that's the way we're going to win this battle, is to be able to do that. And I continue to look forward to promoting all the good things that Indiana's doing. So the next time when Mike goes, who's the state that's knocking it out of the park? The answer should be,
Indiana.
Come on.
Indiana.
There, great. Thank you very much, and it's great to be on. And I'm happy to take any questions except for the gentleman from Pittsburgh. Yes, Mike.
Has there been any research done on birth rates and its impact on labor, the labor force?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, that's what's, a lot of it's driving. I mean, if you go back to the chart on those that are on the younger scale, obviously there's a couple things, and I've got 3 children that are grown adults. They're getting married later, right? They're having children later in life. They are also not having as many children. And so I think that will be a continuing problem that we see. And the good news is we also have more women in the workforce, so guess what? They're not all staying home to have 3, 4, 5 kids. It just doesn't happen that way anymore. So I think that's part of it, but you're going to continue to see that trend continue. And I think as millennials move into these larger cities, it's tougher to raise a family. I mean, you can rent an apartment at $2,500 a month. I mean, that's more than my mortgage and taxes were here in Indianapolis. So to do that individually, it's tough to do. So we got to figure out what you're doing right in finding people to pull in the workforce and really exponentially drive that up, because it's going to get worse, not better. So.
The second part, on the birth rate question, has there been any discussion about tweaking the tax code or any other policy initiatives that would improve how people view having children and marrying?
That's wow. I'm not sure I'd even mention the word tax code in anything anymore. So, not viewed publicly in a lot of circles. So that is an interesting idea. But I will tell you, one of the biggest challenges that nobody wants to tackle is what's called the cliff effect. Anybody here know what the cliff effect is? So, some of you. So, let's say I'm a single adult male, I've got a couple kids, I'm working a job, I earn, say, $10 an hour, just to make these numbers up, and I get child care credit, right, or I get child care support. But my boss comes in and says, hey, I want to promote you, we're now going to pay you $12 an hour, and that $2 difference, even though it would be the greatest promotion for me and an opportunity to really grow, I now lose my child care. And that's something that Congress has yet to really attack, and I see it a lot in the larger cities. And so that's something we need to figure out to really free up individuals that have that opportunity for promotion to actually move up the line, take on more responsibility, increase their income, and really lead the way. And I think if we don't figure that out, there's still a lot of people that are going to be stuck in that same dead hole. And I'll show my age. I wrote my master's thesis on that in 1989, and nothing's really changed. So if we can figure it out, or bundling local services, I think it's something that could really open the pathway for a lot of people. So I'm not getting the laser yet, or am I? No. One more question? Let's get Bob. I don't know. Fred's right behind me. Yes, the commission. Oh, I think he's ready to cut me off.
He's giving the red light.
No. So
Is that red light?
Bob's like, what? So thank you very much. It's great to be on. So,